More very questionable moves for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Not Jalen Warren. Jeremy Fowler of ESPN.com, obviously one of the most respected names out there. He spent a long time in Pittsburgh, so he clearly knows what he's talking about when it comes to the Steelers, even if I don't agree with everything he says. Suggested that the Steelers re-sign Cam Sutton, which I think we could all agree is a good move for the Steelers and one that we're all pushing for. Then says they should go back and sign another veteran corner this offseason. And the two names he lists are James Bradberry and Marcus Peters. Bradberry, you can't sign him in Juju, obviously, so you're going to have to pick one of them. When it comes to Marcus Peters, he's got bad blood in Pittsburgh, but I think that goes away. The second that you sign, Larry Ogunjobi kicked, Mason Rudolph in the head, and here he is. Everybody's fine. Do you agree with the double dipping in cornerbacks in the free agency market? And do either of those names entice you? Especially because James Bradberry said after the Super Bowl, or the day after the Super Bowl during locker cleanout day, that he's not looking for a cheap deal this offseason.
Yeah. No, none of these. Yeah. With that information now, no, I think if you could have gotten Bradberry for, like we talked about Cam Sutton, maybe getting what, 20, so like $7 million a year.
Yeah, about 7.5.
I don't know if you can pay two corners that much, given what their cap situation is. And then Marcus Peters, he's got some injury. He's got some injury history, right? And I don't want a repeat of last year where half the secondary felt like it. Well, where it felt like half the secondary was hurt week in and week out. But they were very rarely a full, like a whole unit. I would rather just build through the draft, re-sign Cam Sutton. I think you've got some pieces there. They're not that desperate for help back there.
No,
I'm not very interested in either of those guys, I think.
No, so James Bradberry's market value is wild, actually. According to Spotrac, it's 3 years, $45.5 million, which is $15 million a year.
Whoa,
for a corner.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
like he had a good year, but I don't.
He had a good year, and he's about to turn 30. Like, what? By the time his contract's over, he's retiring for $15 million a year. Let's see what Marcus Peters is. We're loading there.
Like, I bet you're cutting him by the end of that deal. Like, I don't know.
Oh,
That's how I see that playing out. Like, you're
definitely, you got 1 year with that guy. 1 year before you're a 31-year-old corner. A 31-year-old corner is old. Like, you are on the verge of you're playing slot at this point, and it's only because you can't keep up with guys on the outside. Like, that's bad. Marcus Peters, who is 30 years old, so that's even worse. 2 years, $19.7 million, which is just under $10 million a year.
No thanks.
No thanks, right? Like, that's Levi Wallace is getting paid $3 million this year. Works for me. Like, that sounds good. Like, he played just fine. The Steelers led the NFL in interceptions last season. They didn't have a problem when it came to turning the ball over. I think you go find somebody in the draft that's 23 years old, and you get a solid 7 years out of them, and you pay them $9 million over the course of their first. I mean, Kenny Pickett's contract, he was the 20th pick in the draft, right? 24th?
21st, I think.
21st? I don't remember. His contract is 4 years, 14-point-some million dollars. That's for a quarterback, So if you got the 17th pick in the draft, you can imagine maybe that's a little bit higher. Maybe it's $16 million. So 4 years, $16 million is way better than 3 years, $45 million for a guy that you're going to have one quality year off of. And then you have to redo it all over again. Then you got to go figure it out one more time. That does not make sense to me.
And it's not like you don't have, it's not like this is a draft that is starved for cornerback talent. There's tons there. Tons.
Yes. You could, and you've seen that. Like, the NFL has seen guys come in and just make immediate impacts in the NFL. I mean, look at the Super Bowl. The Saints are the Chiefs, started 2 rookies. One of them's like a 6th round rookie at cornerback, and they held up just fine against one of the best wide receiver cores in football. Who else did? The Cincinnati Bengals started Cam Taylor-Britt throughout the playoffs. He played just fine. I mean, there's
Sauce Gardner is a special talent.
Sauce Gardner is ridiculous. You have like other names like
Tariq
Seattle's
Woolen.
guy, Tariq Woolen, who
Yeah.
isn't even a first round pick. He was like a mid-round guy. Kobe Bryant showed up at some points and played a little nickel, played a little safety. I mean, you got the rookie corners are not what I don't even know if they ever once were like a question mark. Like rookie corners have always been looked at as like guys that come in here and make immediate differences to a team. And if they don't, they're looked at as busts.
Yeah, the Patriots had 2 guys like Marcus Jones and
Jack Marcus Jones, a great example.
Yeah.
That dude's their best wide receiver and their best cornerback.
Yeah, he's their best offensive player too.
Yeah. So you could find these guys. The craziest part about Marcus Jones is he was the first player the Steelers brought in for a private workout during the offseason, and they liked him. They really liked Marcus Jones. He's a little guy, little next Marcus or Mike Hilton. What could have been, what could have been. Instead, he's in Bill Belichick's offense, or defense / offense, which is the perfect place for him. Because if you're gonna score touchdowns on both sides of the ball, you go to New England. That's where you're gonna thrive. But yeah, to find a cornerback in the draft and have expectations that they are an immediate impact player is very realistic. And I think it's more realistic than going out and getting a 30-year-old corner and saying, hey, look, just keep it up for 3 more years. Give us some hope. Doesn't make any sense. So bad moves for the Steelers all around. Weird part in the offseason where everybody's just going to start, throwing stuff against the wall. Yeah. And seeing what sticks. And we're 0 for 2 today, but that's okay.